I'm sure some of you regular primetime local news viewers noticed that our Thomas Wildman has been missing for a few weeks. Fortunately, we found him, and he has a few stories to tell about where he's been in that time. You were in Australia for the World Angus Forum of 2025. Why don't you just, I guess, tell me a little bit about what that is?
Well, thank you, Lane, and I'm glad to be back. But the World Angus Forum takes place every 4 years at various different countries. Of course, this year it was in Australia. It started out in Sydney. They did a few events there, and then it ended up in Brisbane. The main forum part itself was there. And so it was supposed to be in Australia back in 2019, I believe. Of course, or 2020, I believe, 2021. Of course, things happened, and so it had to be bumped. But now, of course, it just took place over this last little bit there at the end of April into the beginning of May. And so it's a celebration of Angus from across the world. There were people from, of course, us from Canada, lots of people from Australia, New Zealand, Indonesia, Lithuania, Portugal, people from across the world that all raise Angus cattle, and coming together and celebrating Angus cattle and just really talking about this great breed that is one of the global leaders, if not the global leader of cattle production across the world.
So this was quite a big worldwide event, for Angus cattle. How did you get selected for Canada in the youth competition?
So what it was that you had to send in an essay as well as a resume and a few other things, just talking about my Angus involvement and parts of being part of the Canadian Angus Association. And I was also part of the Canadian Junior Angus Association, still am. And so, as well as just your general skills and what you were hoping to bring to a team. And so I was one of a lucky 8 to be selected for, I was on the Team Canada A, one of the 2 teams, alongside Hilary Sauter and Cody Detzel were from Saskatchewan, and then Julie Sharp was also from Alberta. And then the other team had Garrett Liebrick from Saskatchewan, Sarah McDonald from BC, Keely Adams from Alberta as well, and then from Manitoba was Lainey Muir. And so a really great group of kids. I knew all of them from beforehand, and I think our team, Team Canada, was very successful. We did very well throughout, and so just 8 of the best Canadian youth from 18 to 25 was where the age was, and then the other countries would have had, I believe, a very similar application process, and depending on where they were from, how many they sent. Like Team USA only sent 1 team, but then the Australian teams, they sent 3 total teams. And so there ended up being 12 teams, each of 4 each, so about 50 youth really representing the next generation of Angus.
Awesome. And for the youth competition, I guess, what kind of events did you guys do as part of this competition?
So we started out in Sydney, that's where I landed, and we did a lot of different team building things to start. The first major thing we did is we went over the Sydney Harbour Bridge. That's one of the biggest bridges in the entire world, and it was quite the experience. It's actually a lot safer when you're at the top than versus down below when you're climbing up and down. I'm not a big fan of ladders, so that was my least favorite part about that. We also went on a welcome cruise there, met a lot of the other Angus delegates, went to Coggy Beach, which is just nearby in Sydney, and then we traveled first to Tamworth was the next major stop. That's where the Angus Expo was, so lots of producers from across Australia had cattle there. We did a lot of various cattle events there as major competitions, whether it was chasing cattle. We also did the showmanship, the grooming competition, which our team was lucky enough to win, and then one of our teammates, Hilary Sauter, won the showmanship as well. And then they also did these modules where they were challenging various different parts of farming, so we had to add up how much it would cost to seed a field. Or the other thing we did is they had like an American Ninja Warrior like contest, but it was all farming and you were supposed to be safe while doing it as a team. And so we did that for a while, and then eventually we ended up at Brisbane was the final stop. That's kind of the competition was all finished up by then when we got to Brisbane, and they had a lot of speakers there, lots of great knowledge, again, celebrating Angus, and lots of different, they also had a trade show there with all of that, and that's kind of where it finished up, and we had our final awards there in Brisbane. But a fantastic group, met lots of great friends, and I'm very much looking forward to going back to Australia very soon.
Well, that's awesome. Out of all these events, and it sounds like you did quite a lot, and you met a lot of people, and you really got to see Australia. What was the highlight of the trip for you, or if you have a few highlights, just of the whole trip, I guess?
Again, back to Tamworth for the Angus Expo. That was the best part. We did a lot of great competitions there. And then, for sure, the #1 highlight was the people. Great people from across the world. Lots of friends. We have a group chat still, and lots of great memories and things that I'll remember forever. And all the other people, the older people as well from Australia, and we went to some great farms. So just meeting all the people, meeting all the different ways, or learning all the different ways that people operate their farms, whether it's with Angus cattle or there was also some people that were just adjacent to Angus cattle. And so it was just a fantastic experience to meet all these different people and different ways of living.
Well, awesome. I'm glad to have you back. It certainly takes some less work off of my shoulders having you back here at Primetime Local News, and it sounds like you had a great trip. So that's awesome to hear. Thanks a lot, Thomas.
Well, thank you, and I'm glad to be back, and we'll have lots more news coming up very soon.